Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So, I was inspired to make this video because we're transitioning into a new era of American history. And we're going to review velocity banking and emphasize, man, it is an American ideal and concept. And you might be thinking, what are you talking about? It came from Australia. Yeah, but so did pizza, so did French fries, so did hamburgers, right? It came from other countries, but we made it our own thing. And in fact, if you take a look at the statistics and even ask ChatGPT, where is the most interest in velocity banking? It's actually here in the United States, right? 87% of the viewers in this channel are from the United States, and then it's Canada, and then UK. And take a look at this little Australia, where it originated from, is only 0.3% of the viewership. Now, I love you Australians, but I'm just saying, man, America is the hotbed of velocity banking activity, with California being the number one state that's most interested. That's interesting. And then Texas and Florida, at least on this channel, and then Georgia, right? So before we get started, let's just ask ChatGPT. Well, I already kind of asked ChatGPT, where did velocity banking originate from? And it says Australian mortgage acceleration and the concept of using offset accounts that became popular in the early 1990s, right? And so if you kind of take a look here, it says in the US, velocity banking adapted the Australian idea, but substituted offset accounts with home equity lines of credit. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because I remember reading a little snippet of Harsh Gill's book where supposedly the idea came from. And he talked about using a HELOC, right? So let me scroll down here, and I just asked, like, ChatGPT, would you say now it's an American idea like pizza, right? Came from another country but popularized in the US? And he said, yes, that's a great analogy. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this. Okay.
Yes, that's a great analogy. Velocity banking has indeed evolved into a concept that's been adapted and popularized in the United States, much like pizza. While its origins can be traced back to mortgage offset strategies and financial practices in countries like Australia, the way it has been marketed, taught, and applied in the U.S. has transformed it into a uniquely American take on the idea. Here's how it parallels pizza's journey. 1. Origins elsewhere. Just as pizza originated in Italy, velocity banking's foundational concepts like offset accounts and flexible debt repayment came from outside the US. Adaptation. Americans adapted pizza to suit their tastes, e.g., New York style, Chicago deep dish, just as they modified velocity banking to include HELOCs and a focus on tackling various types of debt, not just mortgages. 3. Mass popularization. Velocity banking has gained widespread recognition through seminars, YouTube videos, and financial coaching in the US, turning it into a more accessible and branded approach. Similarly, pizza became an American staple thanks to its commercialization and cultural embrace. So while the strategy owes its origins to international ideas, the US has made it its own by tailoring it to American financial tools and systems.
Awesome, awesome. So this is now an American idea. And so now that we're entering a new era, of American history, so I just kind of want to point out something random before we get started with velocity banking video. And I don't know if you've been seeing these videos about Biden, where like people are talking about, man, he voted for Trump. Have you ever seen this? This is like from Joe Rogan, and how like Joe Biden wore a red dress. This is like a complex 4D chess. I've never seen anything like this. This is like when Nikocado Avocado lost all that weight out of nowhere. I feel like I don't even know what's real anymore. You know what I mean? Like Joe Biden wearing a red dress on voting day. Like, and then Joe Biden, what's he wearing? Like, I think this is uh, I don't know if he's trying to send you a message, but you know what's really crazy? Okay, I'll tell you the thing that like blew my mind. It's not even these things, okay? Because this could be like all coincidences, right? It's when he made the speech addressing the nation after the presidential election, and it was like a totally different person. Like, you know how like in his debates and stuff and speeches he just kind of mumbles and then he falls around and he's like clumsy. It feels like all an act, because in this speech after the presidential election, it's almost like if he was some kind of a sleeper cell. Like he was like a sleeper cell, and then he's like speaking the most coherent, most like emotional, inspirational speech I've ever seen from him after the election was over. This is crazy. And you take a look at some of these comments, right? We did it, Donald, right? He seems happier and sharper than usual. Like, no script or teleprompter. This is spoken from the heart in his own words. I think Biden was playing dumb the whole time. He spoke perfectly this whole speech. Like, where was this Biden this whole time? He didn't stutter, didn't sound raspy and old, didn't confuse countries or wars or anything. This feels like we all live in a damn simulation more than ever. Oh, part of my language. But man, it's kind of like I don't know, Metal Gear Solid 2 levels of like what the F, right? Like watch this video, type in like CNN, watch Biden's full speech addressing nation after the presidential election. It blew my mind when I saw this. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is going on here? But one thing that we can for sure be agree is that we're probably entering into a new phase of American history, and I want you to join that phase, right? No matter if the country goes bad or not, just think positively. Like, have you ever heard the saying that most of the millionaires were made in like bad times? Like, you ever hear that, or like Great Depressions or something like that? So if the country falls off the cliff, that's your opportunity to become a millionaire. I don't know if you knew that or not. And the country, skyrockets into prosperity. Just join the join the prosperity train, the prosperity rocket, right on it, right? So we're gonna do that today, with Velocity Banking, which is American as pizza, right? So here's the crazy thing too. Okay. It's actually a lot easier to do velocity banking in the United States than it is in other countries. So, in countries like Canada, you only have like six major banks. You know how many commercial banks are in the United States? Over 4,000. Okay. So when someone comes up to me and says, like, oh, I just went up to like two banks and I couldn't get a line of credit, I'm like, bro, there's 4,000 out there. You ain't living in Canada. You have all this opportunity. America is like Home Depot, right? You ever been to Home Depot and you see like all these tools and things, and it's like, whoa, like this is amazing. If I only knew how to use these tools, I could do amazing things with my life. And then you just buy a light bulb and leave because of lack of education. That's how America is. We don't train our own citizens how to use the tools of the country. That's literally what it is, right? Every time I go to Home Depot, I just look at all these amazing tools. Like nobody taught me how to use any of this, and I'm scared to ask to associate what's going on. And so I'll just buy a light bulb and leave. And that's how most Americans are with their finances. They just go with the default, and nobody trains them, nobody educates them. And so a lot of times what happens is that immigrants come to this country, and because they're so open to everything and they don't have any preconceptions, okay, they try to learn as much as possible. And so, some of the most successful people in this country are immigrants because they're willing to take the time to, AKA, go to Home Depot and learn about how to use the tools there, right? That's my analogy. They go and they learn how to use the tools, do and build amazing things. And it's the same thing with lines of credit. In fact, let's go ahead and ask ChatGPT how many banks, you know, in the US versus Canada, right? How many banks in the US? And you could see that you have a lot more opportunity just by being, or did I say 40,000 or 4,000? 4,000 banks. 4,000 banks, okay? So 4,000 in total. And then in Canada, there's about 70 to 80. But then the Canada, there's something called the Big Six. Like, what are the Big Six in Canada, right? Largest, most prominent banks in Canada. And you could see there that, what are you going to do? 4,500 banks versus like 73 banks in total in Canada. It's crazy, right? You have a lot more opportunity here. So, like, if you think like, oh, I just went to two places and you're American, again, I don't know about other countries, but I know if you're American and you tell me you went to two places and got rejected, I'll just be like giving you the stink eye, right? Because you need to learn and take advantage of the country. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but take advantage of the resources the country has provided you and do whatever you can to get the tools that you need, because there's a Home Depot, metaphorical Home Depot. You're like living in it You just need to learn how to get the tools. Okay. So what do we need to do velocity banking? Well, number one, we need a spreadsheet. We already have that. This is free, easy, free. You just go to live.com. You just onedrive.live.com. Excel is free on the web. So you can definitely use this one to do a spreadsheet, which is your budget, and your budget is your debt attack plan. Okay. Number two, is you need a line of credit. Okay, so what's a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again. That's all a line of credit is. So the credit card fits into that category. We got personal lines, home equity lines. I have over $527,000 of lines of credit because when it comes to credit, like I know how to use the tools at the metaphorical financial Home Depot, right? I know what the banks are looking for. Banks are risk management businesses. They won't be there for you when you need them, right? We have to internalize that. And so when we understand that concept that they're not going to be there for us when we need them, well, how do we get the tools that they provide? And, it's not a coincidence the way that they do business benefits them the most because they have the tallest buildings in North America, right? So what we want to do is be able to take advantage of the tools that they provide, but use them in our favor. And most people don't use them in their favor. And let me tell you why. So if you take a look here, at this budget, we call this the average American. We have income, we have expenses, and then we got 1 penny of savings left over. This is the exact same scenario I did last time, but I felt obligated to do it one more time. And we have how many debts? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 credit cards. And these credit cards equal $137,000 of credit card debt. Now, how comfortable would you feel with $137,000 of credit card debt? Now, I'm going to tell you something. I actually borrowed $100,000 of credit card debt about 2 years ago. It was easy. Like, it was so easy for me to pay it off. I just borrowed it, used it to make some money, and then pay it off, right? And so I didn't fear the credit card debt, but most people, man, they would fear it so much, right? Especially when they were in this situation where they screwed up and didn't know what they were doing, okay? Then they got the auto loan, then they got the mortgage, and then they got the food, gas, insurance, stuff they definitely have to pay for 2,500. And what our plan is to get rid of all of this debt. We want to make all this debt to go to zero because debt is a cash flow killer. It's a savings killer, but here's the thing that most people feel uncomfortable with. When we're paying off our debt, even if we're making the same income, we don't are not going to have any savings at all. That's really what's going to happen, right? And so let me go ahead and copy this side here. Okay. And so let me do income minus expenses, which is going to be our cash flow. And then you might be taking a look like, what, 1 penny, because there's just one extra step with velocity banking, which is to make our line of credit as our main operating account, line of credit. So I have, let's just assume, and again, this is unrealistic if we had it at this point. And what happens with a lot of people is if they do have a line of credit and they're stuck in debt, they just treat it like another credit card. They just treat it like another maxed out utility. Okay, and even if we have a maxed out credit card or maxed out line of credit, we could still use it. It's just going to take us a little bit more time to get rid of that line of credit debt. Okay, so one of the things I want to make a quick plug is there's actually a live stream that I did where someone had sent me their finances and there was literally $4 left over and that person had 22 debts. So if you're looking for a little bit more advanced in paying off, velocity banking, I would just recommend you go to that live stream, right? Join 99 cents, YouTube channel members only, okay? So let's go ahead and do this. Assume we have a $150,000 home equity line of credit. And I know what some of you think because I get the comments all the time, like, is that even realistic? And I'm like, I don't, maybe not for you, but I know what the banks are looking for. So I got this home equity line of credit here, $280,000 limit, and so I could just use this as my main operating account, right? It's this is going to be my new, the like a credit card almost, but I can use it to pay anything, and that's going to be my new operating account. Now, what's the basic fundamental idea of velocity banking? Basically the opposite of saving $1,000. That's really the opposite of velocity banking, right? Like you look at this is like Dave Ramsey's base 7 baby steps that like he adheres to. But save $1,000, right? Save $1,000 in a beginner emergency fund. No, 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 we're not going to do that because think about this. We only have a penny left of savings as the average American. So how long is it going to take us to save $1,000? I don't know. Probably a long time. I'd say maybe 7, 8 months. If you think about it, just like you just pay the minimums of the credit cards and then you save $1,000. It's going to take about 7 months, I think, right? I've done the calculations before. This is a little different scenario, but I remember that in order to save $1,000, in another scenario that I did, it took me 7 months. But take a look at this. All this interest I had to pay, 24 grand, in order to save that $1,000. So I don't think saving $1,000 is a good idea. So we're going to make sure our savings is zero and apply our entire paycheck into that line of credit. So the thing we had to do is move this credit card debt. Let's go ahead and move it. And then this is going to be $137,000 of credit card debt, right? And then it's kind of like a balance transfer. Once we do that, then these all go to zero. Oh, wow. Like these credit cards. And we usually start off with high interest rate credit cards, not only because they're high interest rate, because they suck up the most cash flow, right? So high interest is a little bit is related to cash flow, how much cash flow you can recover, but it's not the only factor. And there's some nuances there that people aren't really familiar with, like amortized loans. There's three factors that determine the payment, which is the balance, the interest rate, and the term, right? So, but easy way to figure out which debts to move your line of credit. Probably the cheat code is like short-term loans and the high interest rate credit cards. Okay, so now what we're going to do is put our entire paycheck into that line of credit, expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. Rinse and repeat over and over again. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And so now I'm just going to do this, I2 plus 1, and then the balance is G2 plus G2 plus H2 minus 4450.84. So what does this formula mean? In order to get the next month's balance, you need to get the previous month's balance and the previous month's interest minus our cash flow. Because what we're going to do is put our entire paycheck in, take our expenses out, and after every single month, we're going to get this balance. And then so now, what we're going to do is take the interest rate or the interest for that month by taking the average daily balance, multiply it by the interest rate, which is 0.08, and then divide by 12. Okay? And then we just copy and paste. Do that at month 2, do that at month 3, and then we just do that over and over and over again. And then we can just see that, whoa, even though we have no savings, it's okay because our line of credit is now our savings account. So whatever the limit of the line of credit minus the current balances, that's our savings. So we don't have to save money. And you can see how wasteful it is from this amortized credit card schedule, how wasteful it is to save $1,000, because here with these 10 credit cards, this is from a different example, we have 10 credit cards. In order to save $1,000, it took us 7 months and we paid 24 grand of interest. No, 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 we're not going to do that, right? And so let's go ahead and do this and copy and paste this. And so now we see in about 35 months, we paid it off, right? So 35 months, 137K. That's pretty sweet, right? So let's go ahead and do that. And then we have these loan calculators that I always like to, well, let me just do this. Whoopsie. This is from a previous demonstration. So we have these loan calculators where we can determine, right, what the current balance is, and we can auto calculate the payment because, like I said before, there's only three factors that determine what the payment amount is for an amortized payment. And if you ever look at like a what's it called, HP, Hewlett Packard Financial 2B calculator or something, this is a Excel sheet just kind of based off of that. And Excel has functions to mimic the payment amount and the balance, which is what they call the future value. And all you got to do is type in the month, and it'll tell you like, hey, this is the current balance of your loan, right? So we saw that we paid off the credit cards in 35 months. So let's go ahead and do that. So 35, 35. And then what we do here is we take this balance, right, and put it into the line of credit so we can recover $396 of cash flow. So why do we tack this one first rather than this one? It's because which one gives you more bang for your buck? Paying off the 9,000 to get about 400 or paying 281,000 to get 1,200? We pay off the 9,000 to get the 390 back and then apply our other cash flow into this amortized loan. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this into the line of credit. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. And now I'm going to move plus 9187.66, right? 9187.66. And then now we got to do is go all the way up here. And then this auto loan is now at 0, okay? And then now our cash flow is $4,846. So it's increased by about $400, okay? And now let's go ahead. And you can see even if our cash flow like increases, we don't even increase it, we still pay it off in about 2 months, right? All right, so let's go ahead and update our cash flow number, which is about 4846.87. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Oh wait, I screwed up. I gotta, I add it. I gotta minus it. Okay. All right. So now this is right here. Okay. So now it's about 37 months, right? So 37 months, we got it. And then here, now what do we do? Okay. 37 months. Now we tackled the mortgage, right? So it's crazy how when we did all this, like, all right, 35 months, then bam, 2 months that loan is gone, right? That's crazy. So 37. All right, so now what we do here is we are going to actually, no, let me do this. Balance 0. Now we're going to focus on paying off this mortgage, okay? So we got most of our cash flow back. Now we can attack our mortgage. And just as a, just kind of show what we're going to do and just do some comparisons. Now, when we're making that monthly payment, there's a trade-off for having a low payment, right? And you'll notice this whenever you do like an income-based repayment program for a student loan. When your payment gets so low on a huge balance like a student loan, like this is true especially law school loans and med school loans, the balance of the loan increases, right? And so there's a trade-off for having a low payment amount based in comparison to the balance is that you're going to end up paying a lot of interest. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but $300,000 at 3% is actually 50% interest after 30 years. Okay, now let's just do a comparison that we'll say it took us 37 months to pay off 20K of principal. And where do I get that? It's because 37 is the current month, and then 300,000 minus 280 is about 20, right? So let's just move about 20K into this line of credit, and I wouldn't really move 20K, but I'm just saying this is a demonstration purposes. If I move 20,000 into that line of credit, how long is it going to take me to pay off this 20,000? And you see it's 1, 2, 3, 4 months, and then we can rinse and repeat again 20,000, right? 20,000, and let me just do it one more time so I can demonstrate this, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see, like every 4 months, the 20,000 gets paid off approximately. And look at that. When we're following the bank schedule, it took us 27 months to do 20,000, right? 37 months to pay off the 20,000, yet we paid it off in 4 months. So if you want to figure out how much it would take approximately to pay this off in about 37 months, is probably 180,000, right? 36, we'll say round this down, 36 divided by 4 is 9, and then you just do 9 times 20, that's about 180K. So in 37 months, we could have definitely done 180K of attacking the lung would have definitely been possible, right? And so now, okay, now we get out the velocity banking calculator to confirm how long it's going to take for us to pay off the debt. And so let me just pull that out here one moment. All right, there we go. So here's our velocity banking calculator right now. And yeah, so you just fill in the numbers, right? You fill in the numbers, it spits out how long it is and the amount of interest that you pay, right? So you can see 9,700 here, 18 grand here, 4.1 here, beautiful. And this calculator is from Renata. So if you take a look here, it is so detailed. Like it is so detailed. It's beautiful. And you actually get this calculator if you decide that you're going to purchase Renata's courses. I do sell them. I'm a reseller of them, aka independent contracting marketer, and just full what do you call it? I can't even think of words right now. But full disclosure, I get commission from selling these. And yeah. Okay. So let me just take a look here. So 4.1 years. So all I got to do is just copy and paste this right here. 4.1 years, and then we good. So we good. All we got to do is just do this. So how long did it take? It just took me 37 months. Oh my gosh, 2 more months and it's completely wiped out. So that's 157K, and then this is 37 divided by 12 plus, what is it? 37 divided by 12 plus 4.1 years. 4.1, right? 4.1. So let's go ahead and do that. 4.1. 7.18 years debt free. Debt free. Oh my goodness. 7.18 years. And here's the crazy thing, okay? A lot of velocity banking channels advertise like, oh my goodness, it takes us like, you can pay off your mortgage in 7 to 10 years. Now imagine if you didn't have all this credit card and auto loan debt, how long would it have taken you? Just about a little bit over 4 years. I paid mine off under 3, 2 years and 9 months, right? It's my flex. Okay. So now this goes to 0, and then we scroll all the way down, and now we got that money coming in. And so now we're going to have actual savings in our savings account. And so this is going to be 6,100, 111 the first month, and then you multiply it by 2, 3, 4, and then now you're going to have what I call rich people problems that we probably need to get into at another time in video. But yeah, so this is where like the difference between here and here, I'm going to tell you the difference is that when you're here and you only got 1 penny left in savings, no matter how much money you make, you're stressed out. You can't go to sleep. You're like, I don't want to go to work today. And you're probably in a state where it's like, I don't even want to look at my online accounts just because it's way too depressing. That's what you're probably thinking, right? Whereas if here with velocity banking, you got problems because you know that if you have too much money in your savings accounts, like it's just going to go away from inflation, right? So you kind of want to spend that money, grow it, invest it, but it is a nice security net, okay? Now, the big like I said, there we have problems here and here, but the biggest difference here is like when you have problems on this side, you're like, man, it kind of sucks to have all that money in a savings account and not invest it. But you know what? I can go to sleep at night. That's like the biggest difference, right? And that's where all Americans should be, right? This idea that we have right here is just as American as pizza. That's really what it is. And we all should be here, right? We have the tools. Canada only has like six big banks, and we got 4,500 commercial banks in the U.S. And so you can see here, these include community banks, which represent 90% of the institutions, right? And so here we only got 73. So which one do you want to choose? 73 or 4,500. I'm not saying it's a contest, but I'm saying that if you live in the United States, you got more opportunity than you would ever imagine. But most people, they're like, and it's probably education system's fault. Nobody knows. They don't know what they don't know, right? Okay, well, that's it for today. So probably for a little bit later, I'm just going to be watching more of the Joe Biden voted for Trump videos just to kind of get my little fix here as we enter in the new phase of American history. But let me say this: if you're broke right now, I want this column to be your new phase of American history. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's make it that way. All right. Well, that's it for today. Have a great day. It's Green Atlanta Mentorship.